Yeah, the bishop on e3 is a brilliant stabilizer, protecting the weakness on f2, making sure that your king will be super safe. That's what matters the most in time trouble.
With 13 seconds, Vincent defending c5. Magnus could take g6. He could make the prophylactic move king g2. Particularly unpleasant because the king is the safest on the board if it sits on g2 surrounded by that cocoon of pawns.
Yeah,
What will Magnus choose here?
By the way, queen takes g6 runs into queen d1 check, and suddenly black gets counterplay against the f3 pawn.
Typical Magnus. Applying so much pressure. 18 seconds. Vincent with a very unpleasant position. His back against the wall. He's fidgeting with the pawn. He's down to 10 seconds. How do you hold this position? And he goes back to f7 and back to e8. Only moves. Only moves.
Yeah, but still so scary. On the other hand, white needs a knockout punch because there is a very big drawish margin in any kind of endgame with all these double pawns.
For sure. Queen d5 check, rook f7 is a saving grace because if you move the king to the h-file, you get checkmated with rook h4. And Magnus will probably move his rook. Will he move it to g4, to e4? Not easy to find a knockout blow. And now he's actually down on the clock with 20 seconds himself.
Yeah, rook g4 runs into rook f6 tempo defense. Yeah, that's kind of annoying in time trouble. You don't want to let that happen.
He takes it, and he's going to take g6 and go a pawn up, but obvious chances for Vincent, who's got the more mobile pawn majority on the queen side. c4 maybe. Start pushing.
Yeah, he needs to open up that bishop, but on the other hand, then his pawn on b5 will be vulnerable.
Still a very difficult position.
Yeah, he has to push it, but no, he didn't. He played queen f7.
That happened easily. He will try to keep checking the white king as much as possible. And the white king is vulnerable along the g-file, so this is not an elementary win at all for Magnus.
Well, I feel like white's queen needs to be placed on e4. Yeah, he's heading towards the e4 square. Then it protects everything, takes away incredible vital squares from black, and slowly advances. These double pawns actually beautifully protect white's king.
Indeed. Vasily Ivanchuk has won. And Yakshistav Duda will hold, so he will advance as well. But we will get a 5+3 in the Wang Hao Svane match. And Magnus starting to advance the h-pawn. It feels like this game is almost over. It feels like Magnus knows exactly how he's going to convert. He's got the target position in his mind. And he's got plenty of time on his clock now as he's built up over a minute.
And he also had time to take his water. Yeah, this illustrates that he believes that this is winning now.
H4, H5, and the death knells starting to ring for Vincent. This is feeling pretty hopeless now. 2 pawns down. His king is safe. Yeah, not looking good.
Yeah, I mean, king is going back to h8, trying to get out of checks. Because even some pawn endgame, yeah, if white sacrifices back a pawn with queen g6 but trades the queen, it could easily simply be winning with the double pawns. And Magnus, now after king h8, he did make a move, yeah, queen g5, step by step improving the position.
And tying black down to the b5 pawn, threatening h6 potentially, although that is not a move that you would want to make lightly. You would want to assess that trade and maybe even bring the f pawn up to f5 before you play h6. It should also be pointed out that a queen trade is good for white, even if it comes at the cost of a pawn. That is the benefit of being 2 whole pawns up in a queen endgame. Vincent fighting tooth and nail, making it hard for Carlsen. Maybe queen b6 to prevent h6, but it feels like it's a matter of time at this point.
Yeah, it's hopeless. Yeah, queen e8, Magnus just goes h6, he takes, opens up the black king.
Maybe a stalemate idea with queen g6 at some point.
Yeah, queen g5 check.
It's easy to miss. You play queen h6 and f4? No. But there are scenarios.
Yeah, there are scenarios. Just to highlight what Daniel is mentioning, queen g6, queen take g6 would be a stalemate. That's a trick white really has to pay attention to. Otherwise, he should be simply winning this.
King up to g3. Vincent basically in Zugzwang. Among other things, he has to make sure that white doesn't put the queen on such a square such that the queen trade is forced, which really restricts the queen's choice of squares. Queen e2 is a nice defensive move, though.
Yeah, trying to get from behind, but queen g6 check. Played,
King
yeah,
f8.
king f8. Will that
Okay.
white queen land on e4? Okay, first a check, and then
it
queen
will.
e4. Yeah, exactly. That was the square that was smiling right from the start.
Oh, what a nice move. f4, pushing the pawn at the right moment. Preparing to block a check on g1 with queen e4 to g2. This is what Magnus does best. Exquisite technique. And you feel like you're getting the life squeezed out of you by a boa constrictor in these types of endgames.
Yeah, and also he controls the clock extremely well. Yeah, he made sure that he is. And look at this. Yeah, his body language signals that yes, okay, I'm gonna win this. There is no way around that.
He's got a million lives, this Magnus, but Vincent's still trying. And obviously, apart from the stalemate ideas, there's perpetuals. There's the possibility that Magnus blunders a pawn. Technique is still required, and it ain't over till it's over. That is one lesson that we have learned again and again from this match. Just when you think that one player has it in the bag, all of a sudden, crazy things start to happen, but there's just so little that black can do here as Magnus continues the inexorable march of that f-pawn. Vincent trying to check him from behind.
Yeah, but the point is that white's king actually can also march toward the b5 pawn. And this is what Magnus is combining. Yeah, he's just going towards the b5 pawn, and there is nothing black can do.
Queen g2, king e5, queen g7, king d5. The king kind of zigzags its way away from the checks and towards c5. And once the b5 pawn is eliminated, you can basically safely resign with black.
Yes, it's over. If the king reaches c5, it's over. And Magnus very delighted, very relieved. He knows that I have my plan. I know what I'm doing. Yes, queen h4 check, going queen d8 check. It's a typical kind of idea trying to set up some perpetual check mechanism, but here this doesn't look like it.
It's a universal feeling. You know you have it in the bag. You know exactly how you're going to win, what you're going to do, and mentally you relax. Obviously, you stay vigilant, but Vincent, a shake of the head, a sip of water for Magnus, king to c5, and Vincent will drop his b5 pawn. He will go 3 pawns down in the queen endgame, and with his king in the open center, there is no stalemate possibility. He does recover the f-pawn, but that's not a fair trade, because now Magnus has pass pawns on either side of the board, and is completely winning.
Yes, I mean, okay, with one pawn, it's always tricky. The drawish margins are enormous. Even sometimes the computer says it's a draw, but practically speaking, it's still very difficult.
Oh,
however,
there it is.
Queen c4 check and the handshake.